What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Phillies sports history for November 15th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Feel Good Friday of victory. Feel Good Friday edition of the podcast. Great win by the Eagles yesterday, 26-18. Really wasn't that close. Gave up the garbage touchdown. But what a gritty performance by the Eagles on a short week. And going into the game, I know there was a lot of people who were like, oh, it's going to be a blowout. I was thinking it was going to be a close game, which for the most part of three quarters it was. But I think what I wanted to see is, and I go back to the beginning of this win streak when they beat the Browns, and I walked out of the stadium thinking it was a loss. I was okay with it if it was a close game and they struggled, but I wanted to make sure I left, or I didn't leave, but turned off the TV knowing that the Eagles were the better team. And I do have that feeling. They showed good fight. It was not pretty. And I think going in on a short week, on a Thursday night division matchup, I don't think anybody expected it to be pretty. But like I said, I went to bed feeling that they were the better team. And I think that's the key takeaway for this game. And they persevered. The defense was just, outstanding. More on that in a minute. But a good win. The Eagles are now 8-2, 6 games in a row in first place in the NFC East with a nice little break now. And you have Detroit, but I think you have to consider the Eagles right there. Maybe you put Detroit at the top, but the Eagles are not far behind them in the NFC right now. Not the way they were playing. They showed me a lot last night. Like I said, it wasn't pretty. Didn't expect it to be pretty, but the way they just fought through it and overcame some bad calls by the refs and just imposed their will when they had to and just said enough is enough, we're ending this game. I think that is the key takeaway. So let's go back and visit the three keys. This is where if we had a sponsor, I would say three keys to the game, but we don't have a sponsor, so still looking for a sponsor for the three keys here. But the first key was contain Jaden Daniels and not let him beat you with his legs. I think they did a phenomenal job of slowing him down. Only 18 rushing yards, only the second time this season he hasn't gone for over 20. And didn't do much passing. The secondary was just lights out all over the receivers. The receivers only had 4 catches for 28 yards. They sacked Jaden Daniels 3 times. It seemed like he was always under some type of pressure, and I think they hit that key very, very well. Second key to the game was take advantage of the secondary. AJ and Devontae didn't have great games. I think Jalen was a little bit off yesterday, and I don't know, but I think he may have had a concussion or got his bell rung a little bit on that sack to start the second quarter. Like he went to the blue tent after the sack in the red zone near the end of the second quarter, but I really think he got pretty banged up, I think, on that sack. But AJ 5 catches, 65 yards. Devontae 4 for 29. Barkley and Goddard did a nice job catching the ball as well. But they didn't really take advantage, and I think Washington had a good game plan for them. I mean, sometimes it's going to happen, but like I said, the way they showed the grit and just overcame all that, that was the key to the game. And then the third, I said play smart. Don't turn the ball over. No stupid penalties. No turnovers yet again. They only took 4 penalties, and one of them was questionable at best, the pass interference on Cooper DeJean. More on that here in a minute. But they played smart football. They played clean football, and I think that was very important in a game that we figured was going to be close, and it was until the end. Jake Elliott, not so smart or great football. He left 7 points out on the field, and I don't know what's going on with that. But credit to Nick Sirianni for sticking with him. Credit for Nick Sirianni for not panicking and just starting to go for every fourth down and go for twos. He coached a smart game, and I think overall the Eagles played a very good, clean, smart game yesterday. So those were the 3 keys to the game yesterday. All right, just a couple quick notes I had as I was jotting them down throughout the game. I think there's something that needs to be done. They tried it a couple years ago with reviewing pass interference calls, but I think coaches should be able to challenge penalties. And I don't think it will add anything. I don't think you necessarily need to give the coach an extra challenge or anything. Keep it within the way it is now, where you get 2 challenges per game, you win both, you get the third. But that Cooper DeJean pass interference was just non-existent. There was a couple missed face masks. I feel Jalen Carter was being held basically every time. Now, part of that is because he's just a beast. But I would love to see them be able to review penalties just in the normal flow of the game, or even have the booth kind of quick call down like they do sometimes, because they were bad. They were absolutely bad. And I know it can get dicey and whatnot, but there ought to be a way for the coaches to challenge egregious penalties like that anyway. That was just a non-existent pass interference call that extended a drive for Washington. In the end, it didn't hurt them, but still. The streaming, and I don't know if this is my internet, my area, or what, but I'm on 2 different text chains that we talk back and forth throughout the game. And more so than ever, everybody was at different spots in the game. Like, in some spots, it was like 10 seconds I was behind, and like I knew what was happening. To be like the Goddard fumble that Calcaterra recovered. Everybody was like, well, man, they got so lucky. And then 10 seconds later, I was actually seeing the play. So I don't know what's going on with that. I miss the old days when it was just one channel. Everybody had the same live stream, and that was it. But that's just me being an old man, I guess. But back to the secondary. Oh, my goodness. What just an absolute top to bottom. That entire secondary played well. Slay played well. Cooper DeJean. Quinyon Mitchell has to be the front runner for Defensive Rookie of the Year. And if he's not, I question the skills of the people that do the voting, because he's been a lockdown corner the entire season. Terry McLaurin did not have a catch on him at all. Didn't have his first catch until the second half. I believe his first target wasn't even until the second half. And they played a huge role in that game. Brandon Graham is out there, found the fountain of youth, just played well. And I think we have a superstar in the making. Jalen Carter, I feel, was in the backfield almost every single play, fighting through holds, fighting through double teams, and just being a disruptor. Very reminiscent to Jerome Brown, and I know that's a lofty comparison, but I saw Jerome Brown play in his prime, and that is who Jalen Carter reminds me a lot of. But we did lose our bet, though, and it's one of those bets I will be glad to lose, that this game was more than the 3.5. I think the line closed at 4. If you did bet the teaser, our old pal Zach Ertz got us there at the end with that amazing 2-point conversion catch. So hopefully you bet the teaser as well. The over, if it wasn't for Jake Elliott, the over would have hit. Thanks a lot, Jake. But again, the bets were secondary. I will take this win any day of the week. Saquon Barkley went over 1,000 yards for the season, and not getting as much MVP talk as he probably should be. I think at this point now, after this game, he leads the league in scrimmage yards, second in rushing. Just it feels like when you need a big run, he's going to get it. And we said a couple times on both of the text chains, a couple times in the first half, he was close to breaking them. And you know, and you see it week in, week out. First half, he's close. And then the second half, he busts off long runs. And what a pickup. Howie Roseman, you are the man. And you need to also sign Zach Bond immediately. He should have received the contract extension as soon as he stepped out of the shower yesterday. That man is also a stud. But that leads us to the question of the day. And who is your GOAT of the game? I got it narrowed down to 3. And I think Obviously, Saquon Barkley, as he always is one of the candidates for the GOAT of the game. I think you got to put Jalen Carter on there. He only had 4 tackles, but his disruption and just being in the backfield led to a couple of the sacks the Eagles had, and he was just an absolute beast. So Jalen Carter is our second candidate, and I couldn't decide on one, so we're going to go with the secondary in general. That's my vote. I vote for the secondary as the GOAT of the game. All of them played well. They made tackles. Even Slade was making tackles. Slade never tackles, and he's out there making tackles. They shut down Washington's receivers, and I think they were the GOATs of the game. But what do you think? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Who's your GOAT of the game? Is it somebody that I didn't even mention? Saquon, Jalen, or the secondary? 267-495-8531. The Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest. But it's a Victory Friday. Let's enjoy it. We have 10 days off now before we even have to worry about football, before we go out to L.A. I asked a few weeks ago what the Eagles' record needed to be in this next 4-game pod of the schedule. I think the consensus was minimum 2-2. 3-1 would be nice. 4-0 would be great. Well, they hit the minimum. They're going 2-2. Now, if we can just split between the Rams and Baltimore, I will be happy. But we have a weekend of stress-free football on a Victory Friday. But let me know who your GOAT of the game is on the Back to the Future voice and text line or any of my social media. And it's either Saquon, Jalen Carter, or the secondary. Get your votes in, and let's have some fun on a Victory Friday. Some quick housekeeping notes. Follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mott on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Continue to spread the word. We're growing. Big things are happening here. We're featured regularly now in the On Pattison newsletter. Be sure to check them out and subscribe to that. Lots of good things happening as we get ready to close out 2024. The Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame Heritage Collection is now available online. The link is in the description. Just waiting on things to upload for some pictures from the induction ceremony the other night. And then if you want to watch the induction ceremony, the link is available as well in the description. It's on YouTube. We're kicking off our fundraiser officially on Sunday, but I opened it up early. All the details for the GoFundMe are down there. All proceeds benefit the Maddie N. Dixon Community Cupboard. We're looking to get some gift cards so families can have a Merry Christmas or a Happy Holiday. And then we're going to kick off December 1st with our reverse Advent calendar. Looking forward to helping out our friends and neighbors. So the GoFundMe link is in the description, so be sure to help out our friends and neighbors at the Maddie N. Dixon Community Cupboard. Check out the boys over at the Clashing Conferences. Good episode yesterday for football. College is well underway as well. And then go to Philly Goat. Celebrate the victory. They have the NFC East parody t-shirts. They have your Saquon Barkley stuff. Get that backpack cooler that they teamed up with Varsity Cooler for. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. But go to Philly Goat. Celebrate the Eagles' victory. They have plenty of Saquon stuff. The Mega John hoodie is on there. You name it, they got it. So go check them out, do a little early Christmas shopping, and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, you may have missed this, but I had it on in the background as well. On in the background as well. Flyers with a 5-4 overtime win out in Ottawa. Michkov with the game winner in overtime. What a shot it was, too. If you haven't seen this, go check out the replay. The angles that he takes his shots on are just incredible. Now, the Flyers got outplayed, but they kept fighting back. Every time they got down, they fought back. Ivan Fedotov was outstanding in goal. Made a lot of great saves to keep the Flyers in it. Good win for a young team looking and searching for its identity. But Michkov with the overtime winner. Flyers win 5-4. Now they return home for a nice little 5-game homestand. But what a win for the Flyers. Sixers are in Orlando tonight. Allegedly, Joel and Paul George are playing. We'll see. Maybe being on the road will help them shake off some of the rust and get in sync a little bit. But that is tonight down in Orlando. All right, sticking with the Eagles-Washington theme today, we are going to go back to 2010. And on this day in 2010, the Eagles pounded Washington 59-28 on Monday Night Football down in D.C. The Eagles jumped on them early and just throttled them from the start. First play of the game, Michael Vick, 88 yards to Deshaun Jackson for a touchdown. Vick would add another rushing touchdown and a pass to LaShawn McCoy. Jerome Harrison added another 50-yard run, and it was 28-0 after the first quarter. 45-14 at the half, essentially ending the game, sending everybody to bed early. But they were not done. When all the smoke settled, it was 59-28, and Michael Vick had himself a fantasy football day for the ages. Threw for 333 yards, 4 touchdowns, had 80 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. If you're like me, you're kind of doing the math right now for fantasy football, and you're definitely in like the 50, 60, 70 point range if you have bonuses. But it was the ultimate fantasy day on this day for Michael Vick. Jerome Harrison added 109 yards on the ground. I always forget the Eagles had him for a little bit. They rushed for 260 yards total, 592 total yards of offense. You could have had anybody on the Eagles and had a good day for fantasy. The defense intercepted Donovan McNabb 3 times, sacked him twice, and the Eagles moved into a first-place tie with the Giants. They would go on to win the division in 2010, lose in the wild card to the Packers when David Akers missed 2 field goals, and I remember my frustration at that game well. I was having PTSD last night when Jake Elliott was missing field goals, but it was an all-good Monday Night Football day. On this day in 2010, Eagles beat Washington 59-28. Michael Vick with a day for the ages, 333 yards, 6 total touchdowns. He added 80 yards on the ground as the Eagles pounded the Washington team into submission on Monday Night Football to move into first place with the New York Giants. Also on this day, it was a busy day in Philly sports. Roy Halladay was preparing to be named the 2010 Cy Young Award winner that Wednesday. He ended up receiving all the first place votes and just dominated the voting for that. Phillies were not done, though. They signed Jose Contreras. They were Ruben Amaro was down in the general managers meetings trying to figure out what he was going to do with Jason Worth. We know he ended up getting a big bag of money from the Washington Nationals. Ryan Sandberg was named the manager of the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, and we know he would ultimately replace Charlie Manuel as the manager of the Phillies. Flyers beat the Senators, just like last night. This time it was 5-1. They were the defending Eastern Conference champs and were in first place at the time. Sixers were 2-8. And I only mentioned the Sixers record and what they were doing because they would go on to make the playoffs that year. And we're right around there now. We're 2-9. Maybe we can make the playoffs. Even Al Michaels was throwing shade at the Sixers last night. I don't know if anybody caught that, but when they were showing Jaden Daniels warm up with basketball, he was like, hey, maybe he should go across the parking lot. The Sixers sure could use him. Al Michaels, you need to retire, dude. And then finally on this day, Temple football had a big game coming up against the Ohio Bobcats. They lost their chance to go to the MAC championship game. They did finish that season 8-4, but got screwed by the bowl games. They were the only team with over 6 wins that did not go to a bowl game that year. And that's what was happening on this day in 2010. But the big story was Eagles go down to Washington on Monday Night Football, beat the Washington team 59-28. Michael Vick with probably the best game of his career. Started off on the first play of the game to Deshaun, and they never took their foot off the gas en route to an NFC East title that year. Sixers Orlando tonight. We'll have more on that. Tomorrow, hopefully, we see a better performance out of Joel. Be sure to vote, though, for your GOAT of the game. Who do you got? Jalen Carter, Saquon Barkley, or the Eagles secondary? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. But it's a feel-good Friday, a victory feel-good Friday. We can kick our feet up, be stress-free all weekend. I don't know what the farms and everything are closed, getting set up for their Christmas lights display. So rake some leaves, do something, enjoy yourself this weekend because your Philadelphia Eagles are 8-2 in first place and looking now like a legitimate Super Bowl contender. We'll have more on this game as the weekend goes through, but let me know your GOAT, 267-495-8531. I have to go with the secondary. I think if they don't shut down the receivers the way they do, that's a whole different game. But let me know your thoughts on that. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for November 15th, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Friday, and until next time, go Birds.